Breaks from college. They can be a rejuvenating time for your student, or they can be a really stressful time trying to fit everything in. In today's video, we're going to chat through tips for you and your student and how you can make breaks from college, fall, winter, and spring break successful for both of you. Additionally, we're going to chat about items your students should bring home if they're living in the dorms or off campus every time they come home from break, and items they should take back with them to college to set them up for the next few weeks until the next break. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Shannon. I post new videos on YouTube every Monday and Friday. My Monday videos are all college themed, so dorm life, scholarships, on-campus jobs. And then my Friday videos are more personal about my daily life with my two young littles, cleaning, motivation, and things like that. My background has been working 12 years in the college atmosphere, so I have worked all over college campuses at multiple institutions, mainly focusing in on working on-campus housing, so residence life or the dorms, supervising RAs, working in the scholarship office within financial aid, and then working behind the scenes with donors to create scholarships for students. So I am all about supporting you and your student through their time at college. So let's jump into those tips. Tip number 1, talk to your student about their break schedule before they come home. This is really important. You want to make sure you are not scheduling their entire break with events. Unless you're traveling somewhere, like the whole family is going on vacation, or you're maybe going to grandparents' house for a few days, you want to make sure you are setting them up with expectations of when you expect them to be at family things and when they have time to plan their own things, to see friends, to sleep. We want to make sure you're balancing both. So by having that conversation maybe a few weeks in advance before they come home from break, they then exactly know your expectation of you expect them to be home Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving to spend that time with the family. But when they're home the rest of the week, they can go do things with their friends. This is going to set you up for way less headaches of them trying to plan things and accidentally overlapping with your expectations of when you expect to be there with the family. Tip number 2, stock up the kitchen with their favorite snacks and cook their favorite foods. I recommend talking with your student prior to them coming home from break and just double checking if any of their food preferences has changed. Do not be surprised. Sometimes students' food preferences really change when they go away from college. They might now suddenly be vegan when they were not vegan before. So have them help you through of what you should get for them to support them. Now, by providing their favorite snacks, cooking some of their favorite meals, you're really going to be inviting them back into their safe place, being back at home, versus maybe eating the dorm food or cooking for themselves, which doesn't have that same homey or nostalgic feeling. So really having those things for them is just going to be an extra step setting them up for success and making them feel comfortable coming back home during break. It can be a bit weird coming home during breaks, especially when you've been away at school, you have this independence, you're responsible for yourself, making sure you eat or you cook your own food. And then when you come home, typically it's family dinners, you're going back into that dynamic that they just stepped away from high school. And so by having some of those snacks or talking to them ahead of time about foods they would want to eat can really help smooth that transition over, since they went from being 100% independent to now being back into the family unit. Tip number 3, let kids sleep. Oh my gosh, let them sleep. They're probably going to sleep in. They're probably going to stay up way too late and then sleep in the next day. That's just part of being at college and finding their new routine, but they're gonna want to sleep in. Breaks are a time for them to rest their brains and recuperate from the busyness of the semester or the quarter, but also their bed at home is so much more comfortable than their bed in the dorms or that they're off-campus housing. It's a safe place where they can feel comfortable and rejuvenate their body. So if they are sleeping till noon, just let them be. Let them sleep in. Their body needs that rest, that needs that rejuvenation. If they didn't need it, their body would not let them sleep that long. So just let them relax and have that time. It's really a compliment if they are sleeping in, because they feel so comfortable and at ease at home that they're able to just do that and let their body fully relax, get the sleep that their body has been missing out on. And tip number 4, be prepared for friendship changes, especially if your student is a first-year college student and had just gone away from home for the first time. When they come back for potentially fall break, winter break, their friendship groups are going to have changed. They may now have different relationships with friends who either stayed home and did not go to college, friends who went to other colleges. Some of those friendship lines are going to change based on shared experiences or not having those shared experiences. And there's always the famous, we call it the turkey drop. Every year in the dorms we'd see this, where you'd have students who had relationships in high school and they stayed together with their significant other while they were away at college at either the same university or different universities. And then when they come home, typically at fall break, they have a tendency to break up because things have changed. Their priorities change, their dynamics of the relationship have changed, especially if long distance is just not for them. So be prepared for some of those changes to happen. This may cause you to be like, why in the world did they drop their best friend since kindergarten? Why did they drop their long-term significant partner? Why are they now hanging out with so-and-so? Let it be. Let them have those friendships. Let them start those conversations with you about those dynamic changes. Really, for them, they might not even be able to explain it the first few weeks too, of why so many of these relationships have changed. It's best to just let it be. You can ask small questions about like, hey, why aren't you hanging out with Sarah? But don't push it. Don't be like, well, you've been best friends since you were 2. Relationships change and relationships ebb and wean. You know, they might not be besties right now, but then maybe in a few years they'll reconcile and they'll be besties then. You never know. So just be prepared. There might be some dynamic changes within their friendship groups, within their significant other relationships, and just be there and be supportive for them, because this is a big transitional time for them in their lives. And some relationships are going to do well. They're going to get stronger, and some may not get stronger and may fall apart. Whether or not they'll get back together, that time will tell, but just let it be. Just be supportive. Those are my top 4 tips for supporting your student during their college breaks, especially in their first year of college. Now let's talk about what they need to be bringing home every time they come back home during a break. So if your student is coming back from fall break, or sometimes you call it Thanksgiving break, they really should be bringing home anything that is summer wear. So sandals, summer clothing, shorts, things that they can just get out of their dorm room, maybe out of their off-campus housing, and bring back home because it's not gonna be hot. There are a few exceptions to this in few places where students go to college where they're gonna need those clothing all year round. But for most schools, they don't need their summer stuff anymore. So they can bring all of that home. They can also bring home any outside activities, sports, or pool toys, things that they are not gonna be using throughout winter. You know, those things do take up a lot of space. I know at some colleges, floating down the river is super popular in the first few months of college when it's super hot. But a big floaty takes up a lot of space. And so getting that home out of their dorm room can save a lot of space for other things. So really, it's anything that is for warmer weather that they're not gonna use throughout maybe the next 6 months while it's colder, that should be coming home during fall break. Now for winter break, when students are coming home for winter break, they should bring home anything they did not use for that semester or quarter. So many times, especially first year students, bring so much to their dorm rooms that they don't end up needing. And so if they find that there's any items, whether that's clothing, products, memorabilia, just random items, maybe a steamer, things that they're like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna use this, and they don't use it for that entire 16-week semester or that entire quarter, bring it home. They don't need it. It doesn't need to be taking up space in their room. Space in their dorm room is a hot commodity. It needs to be utilized wisely. So just bring those items home. They're not needed. If a student really needs an item, I would bet money on that somebody else in their dorm or in their off-campus housing area has something that they can borrow later on if it's super needed. Now let's talk about spring break. When your student is coming home for spring break, they should bring home any winter items that they had brought to school. So any heavy jackets, boots, fall, winter items that they are not going to be using if the weather has changed. Now at some institutions where some students are, spring break might be a little early, and so they still might need some of those items. They might still need a heavy jacket. They might still need their rain boots. But do they need all of them? Getting some of those items back home is going to free up space in their room for them. And the biggest thing is it's less things to pack at the end of the year. So really at spring break, the number one goal is to bring back home anything your student does not need for the last few weeks of school. Now, my students and I always used to joke that once spring break hits, the last few weeks of the semester or the quarter really feels like the music in that final lap of Mario Kart, which just speeds up because it just goes so quickly. And then you have move out. When you're trying to move out so much stuff from the dorm or off-campus housing right after finals, and you're just trying to shove everything into a vehicle or into suitcases to fly it home. So anything that can be brought home during spring break that is not needed for the rest of the semester. Is there clothing items? Is there cooking items? Is there random just decor things they don't need and can survive without for a few weeks? Anything that they can bring home to make a move out easier is super important to do. Now, I will be 100% honest, having worked in the dorms for years as a student employee and as a professional staff, students and parents do not realize how much stuff their students pack into their dorm rooms at the end of the year. You move them in with quite a bit of stuff, and over the year, they just accumulate more and more and more, especially if they're not taking items home throughout the year. And then when it comes to move out in May or June, they have so much stuff fitting in that little dorm room that none of you expected, because to them it's just normal. It's been slowly collected over time, but it's so much to move out at the end. And it's more of a hassle. It's more trying to shove stuff into the car or mail stuff home, put it into the suitcases to fly. So anything they can get out to make move out, which is a stressful process because you have to imagine you have thousands of students trying to move out at the same time. Elevators get backed up, parking becomes a hot commodity. Anything they can bring home now will make move out easier. Now let's talk about what students should bring from home back to school when they are coming back from break. So if your student goes home for fall break and they are going back to campus, afterwards, they should bring back any winter items, so items they will need like a heavier jacket, make sure they have an umbrella, maybe some boots, anything that they'll use for that late fall and early winter weather. And then as well, anything they want to comfort them during finals, especially for first-time students. It's their first time going through college finals, and that's a big deal. Finals can be pretty stressful, they can be pretty scary, so anything comfort-wise that they need that would support them, maybe that's stuffed animals, maybe that's lots of extra snacks that you're sending them home with, maybe that's some extra decor or items that help them stay calm. Whatever it is, make sure to send them back to be successful for finals. Now, in general, with breaks, if you're able to send your student back with snacks, that is always greatly appreciated. Or extra supplies, maybe it's paper towels, maybe some disposable products. Anything you can send them back with is always such a great thing to help them feel supported when they're going back into their college life after being home for a little bit of time. Remember, home is home base. It's their safe place. And then going back to their dorm or their off-campus housing, that's their student life. But anything you can do to support them as they're going back into that transition, which sometimes can be really hard, going from fall break and you're relaxing at home, you're getting home cooking from your family, you're eating your favorite snacks, you're just hanging out. And then you go back into the reality of having to do class, maybe have a job. That dynamic just is a lot more stressful to enter back into. So sometimes having those extra snacks or extra things can really help that experience. When your student is returning from home back to school after winter break, some things for them to bring back to school would be any of their winter items that they did not bring back already that they'll be utilizing. So jackets, boots, umbrellas, scarves, mittens, gloves, whatever they need for the winter weather of where their college is located. They also might want to bring back snacks, as we talked about before, or items for spring break if they are not going home. So if a student is not going home for spring break, it might be a good idea to put in their bag some of their warmer weather clothing items, especially if they already brought them home, just so they have that for break if they need it, or the rest of the school year if they're not going to have those items already in their dorm room. Now, when your student is returning to school after spring break, it's important, of course, that they bring home weather-appropriate clothing items for them to be using those last few weeks of school, snacky snacks if you're supplying them with those, anything that would help them feel successful for the last few weeks of school or for studying those finals. Finals in the spring are even, I feel, more distracting than in the winter. In the winter, especially for semester school specifically, when you take your finals in December, it's stressful. It's like a heavy time of year. Usually it's a little rainier and everyone's stressed about studying. And then in the spring, the nice weather is back. And so everyone is stressed about studying for finals, but also it's a competition with, but I just want to go outside and relax, or go outside and do the outdoor yummy activities because we've not had sunshine in a while. So anything that can support them studying and actually doing well in those finals will be appreciated. And then also send them back with anything that's going to help them prepare for move out. So I really loved one year my mom sent me back with duffel bags. She was like, hey, take these now. She sent me back with duffel bags, with tape to label things, some boxes. Take them now so when we come to pick you up for move out, you have already packed most of your stuff. I cannot tell you the stress that I felt for other parents when they would show up to move their student out of the dorms and they've not packed at all. Like, they walk in and it's like, you didn't touch anything. Like, oh my gosh, now we have to pack you up and then move you out. It makes it even more stressful and longer of a day. But if you're sending your student back with maybe it's duffel bags, maybe some boxes, whatever you're going to use to transport their items with, and they can start packing some things ahead of finals, ahead of you coming to move them out, that will just make move out so much less stressful for everyone. So really the theme of this video is just plan ahead with your student. Communicate with your student before break the expectations you have for them whenever they're going to be hanging out with family or going to certain events that you want them to go to so that they can plan time to hang out with your friends. Also set those expectations of what, like, hey, we recommend you bring this home because you're not using it or you're not going to need it depending on the weather. Or talking through those items, maybe they should be back to school to make them successful with the weather, make them successful with studying, and to prepare them for move out early. Really set that expectation of them packing for move out before you come. It'll just make your life so much better. If you have any recommendations of things that you would recommend students either bring back home at different breaks or bring back to school, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from your experiences. If you'd like more content, I post daily here on YouTube Shorts, as well as Instagram and TikTok. And then, as I said earlier, I post new YouTube videos every Monday and Friday. My Monday videos are all college things, and they're about helping you support your student through their college journey. So if you'd like to learn more, please feel free to subscribe. I hope you all have a wonderful day and are staying healthy.